Hey guys, every day I get emails from people saying what should be in a beginner's lockpicking kit, or someone will say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this new pick kit and here's the link, and I'll go to some Chinese site and there'll be a huge kit with like 320 different types of picks, most of which I've never even seen before, and I just got tired of answering the emails. I figured the better way to do it would be to create a short video. Okay, before we get into each of these picks, the first thing I'd like to bring to your attention, of course, is you get what you pay for. And that's true in lock picks as well. Most of these are major brands. So I've got 3 different manufacturers here. But most of the cheaper picks that you're going to find are going to look more like this one. They're not going to come with handles. They're going to be made out of a fairly soft steel that, by the very nature of what we do, when we pick, we're putting stresses on the metal. It's repetitive stress, and eventually these are just going to break. So again, you get what you pay for. When you buy something a little bit higher quality steel, something with handles on it, for example, it's going to cost you a little bit more money, but it's going to last longer. So I guess like anything in life, it's a trade-off. Speaking of trade-offs, what I'm getting ready to talk about, this is my opinion. There's a lot of excellent lock pickers out there that use different tools than these, but I consider these to be just basic tools, and no matter what I say, someone's going to disagree, and I just have to accept that, I suppose. Alright, let's first start with the most basic of picks, and I have 2 picks stacked here. Now, what I do need to talk about are the type of locks that you're going to be picking. If you're going to be picking only locks based in the United States, then you can choose picks that are manufactured with a thickness of the steel of, say, 24 thousandths up to about 32 thousandths. So they're going to be very thick, very stiff picks, very durable. If you're going to be picking locks that are European locks, slightly thinner, more difficult to access, you're not going to be able to fit those fat picks into those keyways. You're going to need something thinner. And for that reason, we have this blue handle. These happen to be Peterson's, but Southord, I think, does the same thing. This is a 15 thousandths. It's exactly the same profile, but it's only 15 thousandths. So you can get in there and you can manipulate around the corners. So if you are never going to be working on European locks, you really don't worry about buying any of these. Now, what I will tell you is that picks break. Even the best of picks. If you pick on a lock for many, many hours, you're going to stress the metal and they're going to break. So if you're going to order something, order a couple of extras while you're at it, because a lot of times there's a back order and it might take 3 or 4 weeks to get a pick, and that's going to kind of put you out of business. Well, that first pick, by the way, is called a standard hook, and this is probably the most common hook that we use, and you can probably access or pick, I would say, about 80% of the locks with the standard hook. You'll see me using that very, very commonly. Another very common pick is a medium hook, and these happen to be what are called Peterson Gems. It's a proprietary name, but they're basically medium hooks. Same profile again. You got the 25 thousandths thickness and then the 15 thickness. If you're in Europe and you're not going to be accessing American locks, don't buy the thick one. Just get the thin one. If you're like me and you work on both type of locks, I carry one of each thickness. Now, if you need to access pins that are set very different, one high, one low, you're going to need to reach up a little bit higher, and you might not be able to reach it with a standard hook or with a medium hook or that Peterson gem. Well, a pick that I've recently been introduced to is this Deforest Diamond, or offset diamond they call it. This will reach up pretty high inside of there. They only make this in one thickness, and that's the 25 thousandths thickness. But if you need to reach a pin in the back of the keyway, you just can't quite reach them with either of those two, this is the one I always fall back to. Another pick I started using recently, find the usefulness for it, is a diamond. I made do without this for a long time, and that was, quite honestly, that was a mistake. This is actually a half diamond, and this is the small one. They come in 3 different sizes. The large doesn't really fit in too many keyways. The medium really, to me, is not so useful, but the small one is incredibly useful. We can use it as a kinetic tool. In other words, if I want to zip a lock, I can put it in and then apply tension and zip him out. You can push those pins by kinetic energy into place. The other thing that I found this useful for, I don't have to carry my dimple pick kit. I only have to carry this, and I can attack a lot of dimple locks by simply using the offset, or by using the diamond. Okay, that's it as far as standard picks. Now there's a couple of things you might want to consider. If you are in the business, you're a locksmith, or you're asked to decode or pick combination locks, maybe briefcases or baggage, this is an excellent little tool. This is called a knife tool, and very, very thin. I think this is only about 10/1000ths of an inch thick. Very thin. You can often put it between the dials on the combination, and you can feel when they move into place. So very useful tool. But if you don't intend to attack combination locks, if you never face them, you don't need to include this one as part of your kit. Another one that could be useful, this is a knife. It's a little bit longer, and this one is very thick. This is 32/1000ths of an inch thick, and that's because it's not a pick at all. It comes to a very sharp point, and when you have something that comes to a point very deep, you can push it into the back, primarily padlocks, and you can bypass a very large percentage of Chinese padlocks and many of the older American-made padlocks. This allows you to go up in there and use the bypass. You don't even have to pick it with this. If you don't face padlocks, or if you don't want to bypass them, you prefer picking, you also can exclude that one from your kit. In my mind, one of the most useful picks are these. Now these are made by a company called Sparrow, and they look almost identical. Let me try to get them here side by side so you can see what I'm talking about. Many people refer to these as the wave rake, or the most common name is the Bogota. The one on the bottom is almost an exact copy of the Bogota. You see, we got a lot of difference between the peaks and the troughs. A lot of difference. Helps you rake very, very quickly. And the other one on the top here is called the Worm. Now when I bought this originally, I thought, I'm not going to use that. But what I found is many keyways are too short to fit the Bogota in, but I still want to rake them. This shorter profile worm still gets in there. So in a percentage of the locks, I'm able to rake it using the worm where the Bogota won't fit in. So if I could only carry 2 picks, it would probably be these 2. These are incredibly useful, and for locks with no security pins, these will get you in very, very quickly. For locks with security pins, you can often use these to get yourself a very fast fault set. Now, do you have to use these 2? No. There are other rakes out there. Here we see 2 of them. The bottom one is called an L rake. Some people refer to this as a city rake because it looks like the outline of a city in the distance. A lot of differences in there. You can use this 2 ways. You can put it into the lock and then you can rock it up and down hoping to set those pins, or you can use it as a kinetic. You can just push it in and out like you would any of the other rakes. It'll work both ways. It's a useful pick, but I find that it's not nearly as useful as these 2. But if this is all you have, it will definitely work. The other one, rake that you have, is called the S rake, or the snake rake. Looks like a snake. It also has a little S in it. It's got a little hump, and again, you can use this to rock it to push up individual pins, but most commonly this is used more of a kinetic, in and out type weapon. Those are another couple of rakes that you could opt for. Okay, once you got all that settled out, you're going to need some way to tension your locks. Now, the most common tension wrenches are these. Now, there are 3 of them for a reason, and that's because they're different thicknesses. See if we can get the focus. There we go. You notice we have a very thin one on the far left, and then we have a medium, and then a fat one. And that's because some locks have a little bit wider keyway, so if you try to put the thin one in there, it'll completely do a 360 and give you no tension. So if you carry all 3 of these, it gives you options. The fat one, it's used occasionally, but the most common one is the medium one. You'll also notice that we have they're S-shaped, so we have a long end and we have a short end. I didn't used to carry these, but what I found is that some locks will tolerate putting in the long end. If you have a deep set like in a padlock where the keyway is inset into the lock a little bit, this long end still will allow you to get in there to give yourself tension. Other locks don't require that, or you can't use very much of the depth because of the pinning, so then you can use this short end to stick it in there, and then you've got the entire depth of the keyway to work with, and the tension wrench won't rob you of any of that working space. You can make these, by the way, out of windshield wiper inserts. There's a lot of people that on YouTube show you how to do that. To buy this set, quite honestly, is about $6 plus shipping, so they're very, very inexpensive. Another type of tensioning, those are called bottom of the keyway. Another type of tensioning, sometimes keyways are so short that you can't use bottom of the keyway, because once you put these in there, there's no room to get your pick inside of the keyhole. So again, you have these. These are called top of the keyway tension. You have the long end if you have a deep set keyway, and then you have the short end, and that's probably the most common end that I use. There's two companies that make these. These are made by Peterson, and these cost about $8 each. And then there's a company called Technical Entry based out of the UK. They make these as well, and they charge, I'm probably going to get this wrong, I think it's 20 euros each, so quite a bit higher in price. Got serrations on the end of these. As you see, there's really no difference between the two companies' manufacture. A lot of people have tested them, and other than price, there's not a lot of difference. The difference between these two, by the way, are the thickness. The one on the right, obviously very thick. So if you have a fat top of the keyway, this one will move in there without falling out easily. If this one won't fit, then you use what's called the standard pry bar. Okay, if you don't want to spend money on these, and I don't generally like to spend a lot of money, you can make your own top of the keyway. And again, you can make them out of, this is one I made out of a windshield wiper insert. It's just angled, so you stick it in there, and I serrated this one by hand with using a needle file, and it works just as good, quite honestly. Another one I made, this one's made out of music wire. Again, you just file it. Very common, very inexpensive, and this is very useful because a lot of weird shaped keyways, you have to make these on the fly. So if you keep one of these in your kit, you can file it down very quickly. Alright, so if you've got all of your picks, you need something to carry them in. My favorite carrier is this one. Very small, fits in my back pocket. You can hold about 10 picks inside of there. Very easy, nice Velcro closure, so nothing's going to be falling out of it. You got two pockets. You got the top pocket to put your picks in, and then I generally keep my tension wrenches on the bottom so I can very quickly access them. Like I said, 10 picks can fit in there and carry around in your back pocket all day. You hardly even know it's there. If you're going to carry a few more picks, for example, this mess that I've just described, you might want to get something a little bit bigger, something you want to look for in your pick case. This one happens to be by Peterson. It's one of my old ones. You want a leather flap, or you want a flap of some kind on the top, so that when you put all of your picks into their slots and get them arranged, when you fold the leather over and close it, that way when you turn it upside down and shake it, they can't fall out, so they won't be falling onto the street behind you. Anyway, I hope I answered some of your questions. I know there's going to be some people that maybe want to add 2 or 3 different types of picks, but for the basic pick set, if you're just getting started in lockpicking and you're kind of wondering what's the minimum number or minimum type of picks that I should be looking at, I think this probably is a very good start. So anyway, if you got any questions, just go ahead and drop me an email or drop me a message, and I'll try to fill in the blanks for you. Everybody else, stay safe, and gentlemen, always stay legal.